Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. I'm going to talk about the Asia Bibi case. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. It's supposed to be pronounced Asia Bibi. I don't know. Well, Mrs. Bibi is a Pakistani woman of the Christian faith who was falsely accused 8 years ago of bad-mouthing the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him. And in Pakistan, this is a death penalty offence. So she had a capital trial, found guilty, sentenced, later it's been overturned. So I have to take my hat off to the judges for having the moral courage to do justice, to stand up to mob rule, because there are baying mobs in the street calling for her blood who want her to be put to death, and they're irate, and it's obviously petrifying. So in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, perhaps 4% of the population are non-Muslims, and they could be accused at any time of having insulted the Islamic faith, and blasphemy there is punishable by death. I believe no one's actually been executed for it. However, those who've been accused of this have been killed by members of the public, and these members of the public get a slap on the wrist sentence, if any at all. So it was one person's word against another in this trial. So that would be that there was no case to answer. So bravo those judges, as I said. It makes me call to mind that Latin tag, fiat justitia, ruat caelum. Do justice, though the sky should fall. So no matter what the repercussions, you do the right thing. Now, I'm not sure I'd be ballsy enough if I was a judge in certain circumstances. We'll have to say, well, look at the consequences. If I acquit this woman, then there'll be a riot and dozens of people would get killed. But judges shouldn't do that. They should put that all out of their mind. That's not their concern. They have to deal with the case in front of them. If someone else commits crime because you've done justice, well, you were still right to do justice. The blame for that crime is on those who commit it. Islam is supposed to be compassionate. We're always about hearing in the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful. And of course, there are Muslims who are merciful. There's the Red Crescent, a Muslim charity like the Red Cross, things like that. There's Muslim World Aid. But there are those who are disgraced to their faith and who are malevolent and cruel, just as you'll find in any other group or community. So this poor woman, can you imagine the mental torment of being on death row? And prisons and conditions of Pakistani prison would not be opulent. And the terror she was facing, separated from her husband and children, and then also finally set free, but there were these furious protests in the street, and the Pakistani government wanted to quell these, so they struck a deal with the ultra-religious parties, saying that they would terminate their protests on condition the woman was not allowed out of the country. So she needs to be tracked and whacked. Her lawyers fled the country. I would too, because he's in danger of being lynched, and her husband says they're all in danger of being killed. Several European countries have offered her asylum. This poor woman, well, I think what they should do is, if she's not out of the country, one of these embassies say, all right, come into the embassy. You're in our territory now, you're safe now, because people aren't allowed to come in here. The Pakistani police will keep anyone else out, because that'd be a violation of their territory. The trouble is, if it's discovered that your country is the one that's sheltering her, then your nationals they'll face danger. They'll be hell to pay in Pakistan for that. So it's a dreadful situation because of this blasphemy law. If you really believe that your God is almighty, then you don't need to punish people on his behalf. He will have eternity and the inferno to penalize anyone for wrongdoing. You don't need to give them an earthly pena. How can she get around? Well, I suppose a lot of women wear veils in Pakistan. I suppose she could do that to hide her identity. Anyway, they're Pakistanis I really like, and they're people who are incredibly generous and valiant there. But there's a lot of malicious people there too, sadly. Well, reminds me just how incredibly fortunate I am to be Irish. Where I live somewhere where people can do what they want, speak their mind, and we're still safe, certainly on this issue.